Wine News. The Department of Trade and Industry tells consumers to expect increase in prices of notebooks and other supplies as the school opening draws near. Malacanang hits back on the latest statement of ousted Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno against President Rodrigo Duterte. Prosecution panel accuses Senator Laila de Lima of conspiring to trade shabu in Bilibid. Wine News begins now.
From the UNTV News and Rescue Command Center in Quezon City, this is Wine News.
Good evening. The Department of Trade and Industry tells consumers to expect increase in prices of notebooks and other supplies as the school opening draws near. Joan Nano tells us why.
The Department of Trade and Industry advises the consumers to expect possible price hikes in school supplies. DTI Fair Trade and Enforcement Bureau Director Domingo Tolentino Jr. says the prices of some school items may go up a few weeks before the classes open in June.
May slight na pagtaas dahil po naman sa pagtaas ng gasolina at yung pinag-aangkatan nila ng mga raw materials.
But some vendors claim that prices of school supplies had already risen since last year.
Tumaas po simula nung late last year hanggang this year. Siguro mga 5 to 15% difference.
Earlier today, the DTI held a surprise inspection in 2 school supply stores in Caloocan City. The agency wants to check if these stores were following their suggested retail prices. The SRP dictates each notebook must cost from 12 to 34 pesos depending on its brand, while pad paper should have an average price of 5 to 16 pesos. Ballpens and a pack of pencils should also cost 5 to 16 pesos, while crayons should be sold from 12 pesos to 45 pesos depending on its quantity and brand. DTI also inspects the quality of notebooks and papers, emphasizing to parents the importance of examining the label and chemical content of crayons before buying.
Dapat non-toxic yung mga Crayola dahil kawawa naman ng mga bata. Baka akala natin nakatipid tayo, yung pala ay magiging hazardous sa kalusugan ng ating mga anak.
For questions and complaints, consumer may call DTI hotline 751-3330 or 0917-883-3330. Joan Nano, UNTV News and Rescue, Caloocan City.
Malacanang hits back on the latest statement of ousted Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno against President Rodrigo Duterte. The palace also says the opposition is also committing a mistake if it is using Sereno as a rallying figure against the administration. Here's why from Rosalie Cos.
Unlike President Rodrigo Duterte, who has high satisfaction ratings, ousted Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno has low public approval ratings. Malacanang believes this is the reason why the opposition is committing a mistake if they are using Sereno as their rallying figure against the administration.
So kung yan na po ang magiging rallying figure ng opposition, naku po, you're doomed.
Presidential spokesman Harry Roque also claims that this is a desperate move by the opposition. Malacanang is unable to resist from hitting back on the latest statements of Sereno against President Duterte. The former Chief Justice has also been on constant grandstanding, accusing President Duterte as the one behind the result of the quo warranto petition against her. Roque also pointed out that Sereno must not blame anyone else but herself for violating the Constitution when she failed to submit her salin.
Tumingin lang po kayo sa salamin at makikita niyong imahe, yan po ang responsable sa pagkakatanggal sa inyo. Kayo lang po lumabag sa saligang batas. Kayo lang po ang hindi nakipagkasundo sa mga kasama niyo sa punto na pinatalsik kayo.
Rosalie Cos, UNTV News and Rescue, Malacanang.
Detained Senator Laila de Lima believes President Rodrigo Duterte should step down from office. Mai Bermudez tells us why.
Senator Laila de Lima claims President Rodrigo Duterte is clearly unfit to lead the nation. While exiting the Muntinlupa Regional Trial Court this morning after attending her case hearing, de Lima once again called for the resignation of the chief executive. De Lima, a staunch critic of the Duterte administration's war on drugs, was arrested after charges were filed in court alleging she received money from drug dealers inside the National Penitentiary. Yesterday, ousted Supreme Court Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno also dared Duterte to resign for allegedly causing her ouster. Meanwhile, a group role plays what they called as saklaan sa Korte Suprema in front of the High Court in Padre Faura Street today. The group Liberal Democratic Caucus used images of President Rodrigo Duterte allegedly commanding officials to commit extrajudicial killings, to imprison De Lima, and the Davao group allegedly involved in bribery in the Bureau of Customs. They also used a wide game board with texts, "Huwag isugal ang demokrasya," written alongside the coffin.
Garapalan po na makikita natin na merong naglalaro dito sa likod ng Supreme Court na ito.
Mai Bermudez, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
Solicitor General Jose Calida is urged to present copies of his Statement of Assets, Liabilities, and Net Worth or SALN. In a letter, a supporter of former Supreme Court Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno asked Calida to disclose his SALNs to prove he honestly declared his net worth in 2016, 2017, and 2018. The letter sender accuses Calida of having a conflict of interest because he owns the Vigilant Investigative and Security Agency, which provides security for the National Economic Development Authority, National Anti-Poverty Commission, and National Parks Development Corporation. It can be noted that Calida sought the ouster of Sereno, questioning her integrity after she failed to file complete copies of her SALN. The Soljan is yet to comment on the issue. The court defers anew the arraignment of Senator Laila De Lima for charges of conspiracy to commit illegal drug trading today. De Lima is also asking the court to allow her to leave detention on June 3. Monok Son tells us why.
Supporters rally outside the Muntinlupa Regional Trial Court this morning as Senator Laila De Lima is being ushered by her guards to the court for her arraignment. However, the Muntinlupa RTC branches 205 and 206 decided to reset the arraignment to August 10 and June 22, respectively, due to pending motions. In today's hearing, the defense team also first heard the response of the prosecution in 15 months on the kind of drugs they accused De Lima of trading.
This is the first time that they admitted na siya buraw yung dinadrug trade ni Senator De Lima. And this is very important because they have to prove the existence of that drugs.
But according to the prosecution, they don't have to prove anything aside from the case of conspiracy between the lady senator and the drug dealers inside the New Bilibid prisons.
You don't need to present shabu because conspiracy is the corpus delicti or the body of the crime.
Meanwhile, De Lima is asking to leave detention on June 3 to attend the graduation of her youngest son, with 2 to 3 hours of free time after, so she can spend time with her family. The court has given the prosecution 5 days to comment on the motion, while it requests for the schedule of the graduation program.
Alam niyo naman ang tradisyon natin Filipino, napaka-importante lalo na graduation sa law school. Mukhang sana mapagbigyan naman.
This is the third time that Senator De Lima filed a motion for furlough. The first was when she wanted to attend the Senate inquiry on the death of Kian de los Santos, which was not granted. And the second was her request for a medical checkup last May 10. Mon Hokson, UNTV News and Rescue, Muntinlupa City.
The 66 members of the PNPA Maragtas Class of 2018 will need to undergo Special Action Force training before their deployment. Lea Ilagan will explain why.
66 new Philippine National Police officials who are members of the PNP Academy Maragtas Class of 2018 received their badges from Police Director General Oscar Albayalde today. However, Albayalde says these new policemen will not be immediately given assignment as they still need to undergo a Special Action Force training. Albayalde previously revealed his plan to let policemen undergo a 6-month staff training to instill strict discipline. The PNPA Maragtas Class members will also undergo a 20 days patrol officer basic course and 45 days investigation operation course. Class valedictorian Police Inspector Fritz Vallador says They are ready to undertake new trainings to enhance their capabilities.
Gusto ko po talaga na mag-undergo ng commando course, ma'am, and eventually, ma'am, to become a staff trooper.
Madadagdagan po ng knowledge and especially po magkakaroon din po kami ng skills.
The PNP chief also reminds the new policemen of their mandate.
Our highest priority should always be the protection of human life.
Leia Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue, Camp Crame.
Supporters of President Rodrigo Duterte submit to the Department of the Interior and Local Government, or DILG, a signed petition seeking for the creation of a revolutionary government. Over 33 million signatures from 42,000 barangays across the country were attached to the petition calling on the government to expedite the approval of proposed amendments to the Constitution. DILG Undersecretary Martin Dino says the signature campaign shows strong support for Congress as it pushes for a proposed shift to federalism.
Pwede na natin ipadala ito sa Congress para yung ating mga congressman at saka ating mga senador makita nila na talagang gusto ng mga tao na lalo-lalo na sa buong Pilipinas na yung federalism na pagbabago ng sistema ng ating gobyerno.
National Housing Authority officials and several developers are set to face the Senate on Monday to explain the issue on alleged defective government housing projects. Urban Planning, Housing and Resettlement Committee Chairperson Senator J.V. Ejercito says a mafia may possibly be behind the said corruption in the housing programs for the victims of calamity. The committee wants to identify the officials and developers who may have made money out of illegal practices. The House of Representatives approves in the third and final reading the proposal modifying the rank classification of the uniformed personnel of the Philippine National Police by adopting military-style rank classification. Voting 166-6, Solons passed the bill which provides for the amendment of the Department of the Interior and Local Government Act of 1990 to clarify the command and responsibility and PNP rank classification. Under the proposed bill, the current highest rank of a PNP officer will have a rank of a police general, chief superintendent to police brigadier general, among others. The Department of Public Works and Highways will conduct another road reblocking this weekend. Road repairs will cover parts of EDSA, Visayas Avenue, Quirino Highway, España Boulevard, A. Bonifacio, and Congressional Avenues. The road reblocking will begin at 11 p.m. tonight and will end by 5 a.m. on Monday. Motorists are advised to find alternative routes to avoid heavy traffic. Mon Hokson, UNTV, News and Rescue.
The public may now visit the National Museum of Natural History to marvel at the Philippines' rich biodiversity. Leslie Longbowen tells us why.
Learning is never boring in this newly opened museum in Manila, the National Museum of Natural History. In this museum, you will surely appreciate the rich biodiversity of the country.
What this is all about is instilling a sense of pride in us as Filipinos, in our heritage, in our culture, in our background, in our natural endowments.
The museum houses geological, botanical, and zoological collections. It tries to bring the visitors to different areas from intertidal zones to the underwater world through its creative designs. Rooms for informative presentations are also provided. Among the museum's attractions are the skeleton and skin of Lolong, the largest crocodile held in captivity. The structure is also enhanced by its scenic elevator called Tree of Life.
Napaka-interactive nitong place na to kasi in terms of sa mga designs din nila, Very modern na rin siya.
It's amazing because we can see all of the animals in one place.
The National Museum of Natural History is open from Tuesday to Sunday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. No worries because admission is free. So hurry and see the museum's beauty yourself. Leslie Longbowen, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
Next on Y News. The Presidential Communications Operations Office denies spending anomaly and insists it returned 600 million unspent funds to the National Treasury. Palace assures President Duterte will visit Pag-asa Island within his term. Reigning champion AFP Cavaliers, judiciary manages to face off this Sunday. Y News will be right back. Meanwhile, stay tuned for Angelo Castro III. I'm Angela Lagunsad. Good evening.
On Y News tonight, some senators plan to replace Senate President Aquilino Coco Pimentel III. A migrant workers advocate says Philippine government's lifting of the total OFW deployment ban to Kuwait is premature. The Armed Forces of the Philippines considers a success the recently concluded shoulder-to-shoulder exercises between Filipino and American troops. Good evening. A migrant workers advocate believes a decision of the government to lift the deployment ban on Filipino workers to Kuwait is premature. Here's why from Aiko Miguel.
Migrant workers advocate Susan Opley insists that the decision to totally lift the deployment ban on Filipino workers to Kuwait is quite too soon. This is because the government has yet to issue guidelines on the deployment of household service workers in the said Gulf state.
Hanggat hindi malinaw yung guidelines on ethical recruitment, hindi na o-orient at hindi nagko-commit yung mga licensed recruitment agencies, hindi pa in place yung orientation na seminars and trainings para sa mga papuntang Kuwait, then sa tingin ko preno muna.
She believes the government should have first formulated regulations and informed the recruitment agencies on who among the applicants will be deployed to Kuwait.
They shouldn't compromise in terms ng quality ng employer, quality ng worker. Wag volume ang laging iniisip. Kasi ang napapasubo in the end, yung manggagawa.
Ople says the insistence of the government to sign a bilateral agreement with Kuwait will be disregarded if no guidelines will be created which will serve as the binding force of the deal.
Kung may maipapayo ako, kahit may agreement na, wag munang doon mag-apply sa Kuwait. Abangan muna natin, tingnan natin gaano ka-firm yung mga commitments on both sides.
The administrative order issued by Secretary Silvestre Bello III, meanwhile, tasked the Philippine Overseas Employment Administration to formulate the guidelines for the OFW deployment to Kuwait. But the POEA clarifies they will not send any household service workers to Kuwait despite the lifting of the deployment ban.
We will not resume the deployment until after the guidelines are issued and will be implemented and honored by the recruitment agencies.
The guidelines will contain the qualifications to be set by the POEA on OFWs and recruitment agencies and the creation of a training center for Kuwait-bound workers. TESDA, OWA, and POEA will supervise the trainings that will be funded by the recruitment agencies. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Pasig City.
Malacanang ensures that President Rodrigo Duterte will visit Pag-asa Island before his term ends. Pag-asa Island is one of the territories claimed both by China and the Philippines in the Spratlys group of islands and is under the control of the Philippine government. It is near the Subi Reef and one of the 7 man-made islands of China in the West Philippine Sea.
Ang pagbisita ng isang presidente po sa Pag-asa, yan po ay ebidensya ng soberenya. At kung hindi man ngayon gagawin niya ng presidente, tingin ko bago matapos ang termino niya, pupunta siya ron, hindi lang para ipakita sa buong daigdig ang ating titulo sa kalayaan, kundi na rin para dalawin yung ating mga kasundaluhan at ating mga kababayan na naninirahan doon sa kalayaan.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines considers a success the recently concluded shoulder-to-shoulder or Balikatan Exercises between Filipino and American troops. Leia Ilagan tells us why.
Around 8,000 Filipino and American soldiers took part in the amphibious landing, urban warfare, humanitarian assistance, and disaster relief exercises in Balikatan 2018. This year's activities include the construction of 5 elementary school buildings in northern Luzon worth 12 million pesos. Japanese and Australian troops also took part in some Balikatan drills for the second time. Philippine Exercise Director Lieutenant General Emmanuel Salamat says the thousands of soldiers who participated in the military drill are very disciplined. This year's Balikatan exercise was held in 4th Magsaysay in Nueva Ecija, Crow Valley in Zambales, and Calayan Island in Cagayan.
As part of the humanitarian assistance to the community in the different areas of Northern Luzon, the Filipinos sincerely thank you for humanitarian and civic assistance you have provided.
Balikatan 2018 Pacific Command Officer Brigadier General Thomas Widley says soldier participants were able to perform well in close counterterrorism exercise, close air support, amphibious assault, and other drills.
It is with immense pride that I see our nation standing together in a partnership to make the Indo-Pacific region more secure and more prosperous.
Widley notes the military drills will still be conducted in the following years in preparation for any eventualities the two countries will face. Through this, Widley says the ability, skills, and dedication at work of soldiers will be honed. Victor Cosare, UNTV, News and Rescue, Philippines.
And that was a report of Victor Cosare. Some senators are planning to replace Senate President Aquilino Pimentel III, but Malacanang is not worried by the said move. Here's why from Rosalie Cos.
Senate President Aquilino Coco Pimentel III is too kind. Senator Joseph Victor Ejercito says it is one of the reasons why they seek to replace him.
I have to be honest with you na marami siguro nasaktan when the Senate was under attack by the Speaker.
Ejercito is confident that Senator Vicente Soto III can properly lead the Senate, particularly when someone is criticizing the institution.
Bantay siya, may macho black siya. Macho black pa lang, tignan nyo na, panay-tigas yun eh. Alam mo na bloke sila, at least medyo kumpiyansa kami. Pag merong umatake ulit sa Senado, alam namin may mga tigasin na didepensa sa Senado.
Senator Nancy Binay meanwhile says politics should not affect the selection of the next Senate leader.
Para kasi nakikita ko na mas maganda siguro yung magiging officers of the Senate, hindi nasa hanay ng mga re-electionist. Kasi kumbaga magiging makakapag-concentrate sila din sa trabaho nila, magiging kumbaga less politicized yung Senado.
Malacanang, meanwhile, is not worried over the plans to change the Senate leadership. Presidential spokesman Secretary Harry Roque says the Duterte administration respects the rights of lawmakers to choose their leader. Malacanang also assures the Senate remains in support of President Rodrigo Duterte should they decide to elect Senate Majority Leader Tito Soto to replace Senate President Coco Pimentel.
Ako naman po'y naniniwala at naniniwala po ang palasyo na kahit sino pong mahalal na Senate President, at ang balita po si Senator Tito Soto, napakalapit din pong aliado ni Senator Tito Soto, wala pong magbabago sa malapit na samahan at sa kooperasyon na ngayon po ay mayroon sa panig ng Senado at ng Malacanang.
Rosalie Cos, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
The government allots more than 1 billion pesos for the rehabilitation of Boracay Island. Here's why from Vincent Arboleda.
Environment Secretary Roy Simato confirms that the Budget Department has approved yesterday the interagency's request for 1.3 billion peso worth of fund for the Boracay rehabilitation. The fund is allocated to the 7 key result areas the government focuses on during the 6-month rehabilitation period. The fund will go to employment offers and livelihood, cleanup efforts, island decongestion, traffic management and implementation of law, communication and improvement of the environment. The Secretary says the said fund might still increase since some agencies have yet to submit their budget request.
Wala pa naman fix na kung ilan, basta nagsubmit lang nila kung under respective portions kung magkano yung mga kailangan. Nagsubmit na ngayon, but it is not absolute.
Agencies are expected to begin their respective projects in the island once their requested fund is approved. Simato is also fast-tracking the relocation of informal settlers in Boracay. In DENR's report, there are 859 individuals or homes occupying the forest of the island.
Yung Wetland number 6, marami pa rin mga informal settlers doon. Dahan-dahan na namin ilabas. Nakakahanap na kami ng immediate evacuation place nila.
Meanwhile, based on the initial ground-penetrating radar investigation of the Mines and Geosciences Bureau, more than 40 areas in White Beach are set for excavation. Authorities suspect illegal pipes are buried below the said areas. 16 of these are in the high level of confidence and 3 had been excavated and confirmed with illegal pipes that exit to the sea. A septic tank was also found near the beach with a pipe that reaches the shore. Vincent Arboleda, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Tourism Secretary Berna Romulo Puyat suspends the controversial Buhay Karinderya project headed by Tourism Promotions Board Chief Operations Officer Cesar Montano. Here's Asher Cadapan Jr. to tell us why.
Tourism Chief Berna Romulo Puyat issues suspension order on the Buhay Karinderya project of Tourism Promotions Board Chief Operations Officer Cesar Montano. The suspension follows her talk with Montano on Wednesday evening. Montano is being questioned over the release of 80 million from the Department of Tourism Fund as payment to the proponents of Buhay Karinderya project without going through proper bidding. Romulo Puyat also questioned Montano over the full payment of the project when it has yet to be completed. Buhay Karinderya is supposed to be held in June this year to replace Madrid Fusion Manila. Secretary Puyat believes it would bring negative effects to the government if a project is doled out only to one sector. That's why she insists on proper bidding in all of DOT's projects under her term. Puyat will review the Buhay Karinderya and other projects under Montano as well as all contracts entered into by the DOT.
For me, ang comfortable ako pag walang bidding, stop all the projects.
Puyat says Montano assured her of his full cooperation in the probe, though she did not ask for Montano's resignation since he is on holder capacity following the expiration of his term as TPB chief. The Tourism Promotions Board is an attached agency to DOT. It is soon to convene in a tourism congress together with other tourism stakeholders to elect a new COO. Asher Cadapan Jr., UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Presidential Communications Office Undersecretary for Administration and Finance, Noel Puyat, tenders his resignation, which will take effect on May 30. But Puyat clarifies this is not connected to the alleged Commission on Audit report that supposedly questioned the 647 million pesos spending of the agency during the ASEAN Summit in 2017. Senator Antonio Trillanes earlier filed a resolution seeking to probe the alleged irregular PCOO spending during the country's ASEAN chairmanship. Puyat says no such COA report was issued, and the department even received certifications of no disallowances. He adds, the department has returned around 600 million pesos unspent funds to the National Treasury.
I can even show you my 6 quarters of clean health from COA, but I have no notice of disallowance or anything. From July 2016 until December 31, 2017.
Reigning champion AFP Cavaliers vows to step up as it battles with reinforced judiciary matches in the UNTV Cup off-season executive face-off this Sunday. Here's Bernard Dadis to tell us why.
After suffering a suffocating defeat to PNP responders during May 6 opening games, defending champion AFB Cavaliers vows to step up their game as it prepares to battle a toughened judiciary Menchis in the third game of the UNTV Cup off-season executive face-off this Sunday. The Cavaliers admittedly stumbled on its footing when it first hit the hard court this off-season, as its new players are still adjusting after most of their senior Cagers have retired or reassigned. However, the AFP remains confident it will recover enough firepower to blister their way to the win column.
Hindi rin kasi kami nakakapag-practice na maayos because mga officers ang hirap. Siguro bawi na lang kami next time. Siguro endurance-wise kasi mga officers, yun lang. Yung iba kasi karamihan sa amin bago. Medyo ngayon lang nakalaro din dito. So naninibago. Hopefully next game makarecover.
The judiciary Menchis, for its part, gets away from complacency in the wake of its win over DOJ Justice Boosters to further rev up its armament. The Menchis admits the Cavaliers is a force to reckon with since the latter already defeated them during last season's semifinals.
Bigat. So kailangan pagandaan. Siguro dapat lang magpakondisyon para masabayan natin.
Medyo yung endurance namin kailangan dagdagan. Medyo kinakapos pa ng konti. Pero makukuha rin pa namin yung ano namin.
Prior to the Cavaliers and Menchis matchup, GSIS Thunder Furies will first battle with Senate Sentinels in the first game at 2 p.m. while PNP Responders and Ombudsman Grubbusters will fire up the second game by 3:30 p.m. Sunday at the Pasig City Sports Center. Bernard Dadis, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Up next on Y News. Malaysian police seizes hundreds of designer bags, jewelry, cash from former Prime Minister Najib Razak's condo. Big explosion at Kilauea volcano crater could be followed by more. A doctor says there's no right or wrong response in the internet debate about whether an audio file says the words Laurel or Yanni. Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I'm Angelo, Castro III, and this is Y News. Stay tuned for William Thio. Good evening.
Good evening. Here are the headlines on Y News Tonight. The Department of Trade and Industry advises the consumers to expect possible price hikes in school supplies a few weeks before classes open in June. DTI Fair Trade and Enforcement Bureau Director Domingo Tolentino Jr. says the spike in notebooks and other paper-based product pricing is due to the increasing value of gasoline and importation of raw materials. The department reminds retailers to follow the suggested retail price on school supplies. The DTI also reminds parents to thoroughly examine the label and chemical content of school supplies, especially crayons, before buying.
Dapat non-toxic yung mga Crayola dahil kawawa naman ng mga bata. Baka akala natin nakatipid tayo, yung pala ay magiging hazardous sa kalusugan ng ating mga anak.
For questions and complaints, consumers may call DTI Hotline 751-3330 or 0917-883-3330. Migrant workers advocate Susan Ople insists that the decision to lift the total deployment ban on Filipino workers to Kuwait is premature. This is because the government has yet to issue guidelines on the deployment of household service workers in the said Gulf state. She believes the government should have first formulated regulations which will serve as the binding force of the Memorandum of Agreement signed by the Philippines and Kuwait.
Hanggat hindi malinaw yung guidelines on ethical recruitment, hindi na o-orient at hindi nagko-commit yung mga licensed recruitment agencies, hindi pa in place yung orientation na seminars and trainings para sa mga papuntang Kuwait.
The Philippine Overseas Employment Administration, or POEA, meanwhile assures no household service workers will be sent to Kuwait pending the guidelines despite the lifting of the deployment ban. In other news, Malacanang hits back on the latest statement of ousted Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno against President Rodrigo Duterte. Palace accuses Sereno of grandstanding for constantly accusing the president as the one behind her ouster. Roque also pointed out that Sereno must not blame anyone else but herself for violating the Constitution when she failed to submit her SAL-N.
Tumingin lang po kayo sa salamin at makikita niyong imahe, yan po ang responsable sa pagkakatanggal sa inyo. Kayo lang po lumabag sa saligang batas. Kayo lang po ang hindi nakipagkasundo sa mga kasama niyo sa punto na pinatalsik kayo.
Malacanang also believes the opposition is making a mistake if they are using Sereno as their rallying figure against the administration since she has low public approval ratings unlike the president. Some senators are planning to replace Senate President Aquilino Coco Pimentel III. Senator Joseph Victor Ejercito says Pimentel is too kind in responding to attacks against the institution. Ejercito is confident that Senator Vicente Tito Soto III can properly lead the Senate.
Bantay siya, may macho black siya. Macho black pa lang, tignan nyo na, panay tigas yun eh. Alam mo na bloke sila, at least medyo kumpiyansa kami. Pag merong umatake ulit sa Senado, alam namin may mga tigasin na didepensa sa Senado.
Malacanang, meanwhile, is not concerned over plans to change the Senate leadership and respects the right of the senators to choose their leader.
Naman po'y naniniwala at naniniwala po ang palasyo na kahit sino pong mahalal na Senate President at ang balita po si Senator Tito Soto, napakalapit din pong aliado ni Senator Tito Soto. Wala pong magbabago sa malapit na samahan at sa kooperasyon na ngayon po ay mayroon sa panig ng Senado at ng Malacanang.
The Muntinlupa Regional Trial Court defers anew the arraignment of Senator Laila de Lima for charges of conspiracy to commit illegal drug trading due to pending motions. The court rescheduled the arraignment to August 10 and June 22nd for branches 205 and 206 respectively. But in today's hearing, the defense team also first heard from the prosecution the kind of drugs they accused de Lima of trading.
This is the first time that they admitted na siya po raw yung dinadrug trade ni Senator de Lima. And this is very important because they have to prove the existence of that drugs.
But according to the prosecution, they don't have to prove anything aside from the case of conspiracy between the lady senator and the drug dealers inside the new Bilibid prisons. Meanwhile, de Lima is asking to leave detention on June 3rd to attend the graduation of her younger son with 2 to 3 hours of free time after so she can spend time with her family. The court has given 5 days to prosecution to comment on the said motion. The Armed Forces of the Philippines, or AFP, considers a success the recently concluded shoulder-to-shoulder or Balikatan Exercises between Filipino and American troops. The Balikatan 2018 organizers say the 8,000 Filipino and American soldier participants were able to perform well in close counter-terrorism exercises, close air support, amphibious assault, and other drills. Soldiers also built 5 elementary school buildings in northern Luzon worth 12 million pesos. The organizers note the military drills will still be conducted in the following years to hone the abilities and education of the soldiers. Young Filipino basketball players will have a chance of becoming this year's junior NBA stars. Here's Ray Pelayo to tell us why.
The NBA Philippines is now at its final stage in choosing the junior NBA All-Stars that will commence this weekend. Aspirants came from different parts of the country where the NBA set up clinics and training camps. From 40,000 that flooded the recruitment process, only 75 were picked who are now in Metro Manila for the national training camp. NBA Philippines says heights and skills are advantage in becoming one of the all-stars, but they are also looking for other things.
Junior NBA also teaches the STAR values. STAR values stands for sportsmanship, teamwork,
of having a positive attitude and respect.
Parents' support is important in achieving the goal of aspirants like father and son Mark and CJ.
May quota kami sa grades pa. Kailangan study basketball.
Gusto ko yung maging Philippine team para i-represent ang Philippines at manalo.
And to inspire the young players, WNBA legend Cheryl Swoops and Sacramento Kings player Willie Cauley-Stein visited the Philippines. Swoops joined the WNBA in 1987 and she was tagged as the female Michael Jordan. She received numerous awards like the most valuable player in succeeding years before she retired in 2011. The legend admits that she'd been through hardships of basketball to attain her dreams.
And I knew that if I wanted to go to college, basketball would be my ticket to do that and get an education. And thank God I chose that path.
She also believes that even Filipinos could have slots in NBA or WNBA.
It's never going to be easy. You got to put in the time, you got to put in the work. But I think the opportunity for Filipinos is as high as it is for anyone else.
Swoops will help in choosing the 8 boys and 8 girls players who will become the 2018 Junior NBA and Junior WNBA. Winners will have a chance to be with other Junior NBA All-Stars in Southeast Asia. Ray Pelayo, UNTV News and Rescue, Mandaluyong City.
And for the news abroad, Singapore's Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong will visit neighboring Malaysia's newly elected Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad on tomorrow. In a speech, Mr. Lee said Singapore needs to pay close attention to its relationship with Malaysia, its closest neighbor. Mahathir ruled Malaysia from 1981 to 2003 last week. His opposition coalition defeated Prime Minister Najib Razak, which has governed Malaysia for 6 decades. Meanwhile, a pre-dawn police raid seizes hundreds of designer bags, jewelry, and cash from a residence linked to Malaysian former Prime Minister Najib Razak. While recently freed Anwar Ibrahim reveals Razak called him twice on election night. This report, and Mary Jo Maleriado is here with this report live.
Malaysia police seizes 284 boxes containing handbags and dozens of bags filled with cash and jewelry from a private luxury condominium linked to former Prime Minister Najib Razak on Friday morning. Amar Singh, Director of Police Commercial Crime Investigations, says they raided 6 premises, which include the Prime Minister's office and official residence in Putrajaya, and 4 private residences linked to the former Premier. Singh earlier explained the raids are related to an investigation into a multi-billion scandal involving the Najib-founded state fund One Malaysia Development Berhad. Najib and his wife Rosma Mansour has been barred from leaving the country as 6 nations including the United States are investigating. Najib denies any wrongdoing. Meanwhile, recently freed and pardoned Anwar Ibrahim reveals that a totally shattered Razak called him twice on the night he lost the general election. Anwar says Razak sought his advice prior to the announcement of the shocking poll result.
I was persuading him, I said, Najib, as a friend, I'm telling you, it's better you concede now and come up with a statement, accept the fact, rather than just wait and be perceived as trying to scuttle the process.
Najib was beaten in the election last week by 92-year-old Mahathir Mohamad, ending the dominance of the Barisan National Coalition that has ruled Malaysia for over 6 decades. The party's defeat has attributed to rising anger over corruption and an unlikely alliance struck between Anwar and his former rival, Mohamad. Mahathir secured a royal pardon for Anwar and promised to step aside for his friend to become Prime Minister. But Anwar says Mahathir is the right man for the job of Prime Minister right now.
Now you have to dismantle the what we could consider an obsolete, corrupt system. Probably seem to be the right man. I'm a bit more moderate and have a softer image.
In other news, the U.S. Senate has approved the Central Intelligence Agency, or CIA's first female director, despite her role in the spy agency's post-9/11 interrogation program. Gina Haspel's confirmation in a 450-445 vote follows a partisan fight among senators about the CIA's Bush-era use of techniques such as waterboarding. A 33-year-old veteran of the agency, Ms. Haspel, 61, spent most of her career as an undercover operative.
Having served in that tumultuous time, I can offer you my personal commitment, clearly and without reservation, that under my leadership, on my watch, CIA will not restart a detention and interrogation program.
Scientists warn of more explosive eruptions at Hawaii's Kilauea volcano. Janiel Panoy will tell us why.
An explosive eruption at Hawaii's Kilauea volcano has sent ash 30,000 feet into the sky. The eruption took place on Thursday, and scientists warned this could be the first of a violent string of explosions in the crater. Staff at the Volcano Observatory and the National Park had been evacuated. Since a new zone of Kilauea began erupting almost 2 weeks ago, lava has wrecked dozens of homes and forced hundreds of people to be evacuated. According to USGS scientist Michelle Coombs, an explosive eruption at Kilauea was becoming more likely as the volcano's lava lake was lowering. This increases the risk of steam-powered explosions as the magma meets underground water.
We're still watching things real closely. We may have additional larger events, more powerful events, kind of like what we saw earlier this morning.
A spike in toxic sulfur dioxide gas closed schools around the village of Pahoa, 25 miles east of the volcano. The County of Hawaii Civil Defense warned in an alert that the wind could carry Kilauea's ash plume as far as Hilo, the Big Island's largest city and a major tourism center. Janiel Panoy, UNTV News and Rescue, Hawaii, USA.
A doctor says there is no right or wrong response in the internet debate about whether an audio file says the words Laurel or Yanni. Abby Valdez will tell us why.
Laurel. Laurel.
This audio file of a robotic voice uttering a single word quickly went viral as social media was divided over which of the two very different words was actually being spoken. So, was it really Yanni or Laurel?
Laurel. All I hear is Yanni.
But according to Dr. Mario Siversky, a professor of neuroscience and physiology at NYU Langone Health, there were really no right answers.
So is this a vase or two faces looking at each other? In fact, it's neither. And your brain tries to interpret looking for patterns, and depending on how you look at it and what you pay attention to, it's a vase or two faces. The same thing happens with the speech spectrum that we get from that ambiguous robotic voice. So there's no right or wrong response.
The ambiguous robotic voice is actually from a real person, an opera singer, who recorded the word Laurel in 2007, according to Mark Tinkler, the CEO and founder of Vocabulary.com, where the audio file came from.
The gentleman who recorded this, he was actually an original member of Cats, so which is pretty neat.
The audio file was posted by high school students on May 11 and has since garnered close to 23 million views on Chloe Feldman's Twitter page. Siversky pointed out that although higher frequencies might make people hear Yanni and lower frequencies might make people hear Laurel, those sounds could change for young and old people several times a day, depending on what frequencies their brains are picking up, the word they're expecting to hear, and with various devices from which they are listening.
Who's Yanni? I hear Kofefi.
Abby Valdez, UNTV News and Rescue, USA.
Those are the reasons behind the news. May 18, 2018, I am William Thio, and because we need to know, we will always ask why. Thank you for watching Why News.